Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back to another video. This is part 2. So before we get into the video, please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you like this video. You share your thoughts in the comments and all of that good stuff. But we are still talking Manchester City 3, Chelsea 1. We are still talking about the same stuff we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks and how poor our season is becoming very quickly. This is on not just Enzo Maresca. A lot of people yesterday were saying to me, this is on Enzo Maresca. We're going to try and dissect a lot of that today because I feel like there's a lot that we kind of say in a reactionary way in terms of the performances. But sometimes we don't dissect things down, and we're going to try and do that in this video because, yes, Enzo Maresca. Let's start with Enzo Maresca. Let's start with him. Now, Enzo Maresca, yes, 100% is at fault. Now, I don't know if this is just because he's been told by the ownership, you got to play certain players. You can't play Ben Chilwell for certain reasons because he's on high wages and all the rest of it. Now, if that is the case, and the owners have the authority and the final say on decisions that the manager should be making, then we've got an issue. We've got a problem already because for me personally, we as Chelsea fans, we've watched Robert Sanchez in goal time and time and time and time again. And bearing in mind, we see him once a week. We see this guy once a week. This manager is seeing him every day at Cobham. Every day at Cobham. Now, I don't know personally if he's performing well at Cobham. Maybe he is. Maybe he's pulling out shot stoppers and he's playing amazing, like one of the best goalkeepers in the world. But when it matters on the pitch, 90 minutes, when it matters, he doesn't do it consistently. He's not done it. How is his name still on that team sheet every week? Now, this is where you blame Maresca, because Maresca has to have some balls and bollocks and say, look, I'm not playing him anymore. I'm not playing him anymore. I'm not putting him in goal. He's not good enough. That's where he's got to stand up to these owners, because a lot of the other owners, the other managers, Pochettino, Potter, they've all had, even Frank Lampard, all have had issues with this ownership. Now, this is where we're going to assess Enzo Maresca's balls, cojones, because if he doesn't stand up to these owners and he doesn't say to them, you know what, go and get me a goalkeeper. I'm not playing Robert Sanchez. You can't come out and defend them after this. Even after the game yesterday, Maresca's still defending Robert Sanchez. Now, I'm not saying he should throw him under the bus and say he was this and he was that, but he was quick enough to do it to Noni Madueke and Christopher Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson only 7 days ago in the press conference. You know, he sort of singled out other players that make mistakes in his team. Now, the goalkeeper is primary one area you cannot slack on. You can't get a 50% goalkeeper. You can't get a 65% goalkeeper. You have to have a goalkeeper that is 90% of the time going to win you games, save you from getting a goal, conceding a goal. That has got to be your most consistent area, goalkeeper. You can't slack on a goalkeeper. You can't go from Brighton's third choice goalkeeper to Chelsea's first choice goalkeeper. You can't go from being at Forest Green Rovers and making mistakes at Forest Green Rovers and then coming to Chelsea and being the number one goalkeeper. It can't happen. It can't happen. No other club would do that. There's no other club in the world that would go and get Forest Green Rovers goalkeeper, Brighton's third choice goalkeeper, and make them number one with no alternative options on the bench. Now, from this day forward, I want to see Jurgensen in goal. Jurgensen has to be in goal for us. Because what can happen? What's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that will happen with Jurgensen in goal? That bit is on Maresca. Maresca has to change things. He has to change things now. If you remember back to Kepa being in goal and the mistakes, and when we brought Mendy in, he changed the game for us that season. We went on to win the Champions League. We went on to win the Club World Cup. We have to make drastic changes at this club. We can't afford to allow Sanchez Because Sanchez will get Maresca sacked. Believe you, I'm telling you from now, Maresca will get sacked at some point if this carries on. Now, I've already spoken about the transfers, the 36 transfers that we've made under this ownership, and how poor, when you look back on them in reflection, how badly managed that money is. Name me another company that could spend £1.6 billion and have nothing to show for it at the end. No company would do that. If this is a business to them, they're not even doing that part correct. They're not even doing the business side of the footballing world correct. Tactically, we're not doing things correctly, but on the business side, no front of shirt sponsor. Still, next week is February 2025. There's 4 months left of the season and we still don't have a front of shirt sponsor. This is a company that will sell its own assets to its own company, its own sister company. So when they sell up, who do you think owns all that stuff? All this stuff that they're selling to themselves, when they decide that they want to sell the club, who do you think owns all these other assets that they're selling onto themselves? Who do you think is going to profit from all of this in the end? Enzo Maresca is at fault for playing Robert Sanchez. Enzo Maresca is at fault for continuing with Nicholas Jackson as our striker. Now, someone will say to me, well, who can we put there? Well, we've got Mark Gu. We had João Felix. Yes, he wasn't there yesterday, but previous games, João Felix has been there. Play him as a false nine. Put Christopher Nkunku there. Stop playing Cole Palmer if he's not. And Cole Palmer, I didn't even notice this after the game when I done my video yesterday, but Cole Palmer talking to Pep Guardiola after the game, we've just been battered 3-1. We've just been battered 3-1. Probably one of our poorest results all season. Our poorest performance all season. Walk off the pitch, Cole. Just walk off the pitch. You ain't even got to talk to Pep in front of everyone. Because the narrative will be spun in the media. Just walk off the pitch. Go and have that conversation with your old manager in the dressing room, in the tunnel, wherever. Not in the public domain where everyone can see. Because that's what's going to be spoken about over the next couple of days now. Is Cole Palmer and Pep Guardiola talking to each other, smiling with each other. Just walk off the pitch. You've just been battered 3-1. Yeah, you didn't do anything in the game. And this is again where Maresca has to look at his options. Now, I didn't have Cole Palmer in my predicted lineup for this game yesterday. One, I'd rest him, and two, he hasn't been as effective for me as a 10 than he was off the right. And I keep saying that. And I think when you see Cole Palmer on the right side of our attack, he's more dangerous, he's more lethal. He's going to offer you a lot more than Noni Madueke is going to offer you on that right side. And that frees up the number 10 role for Christopher Nkunku. I don't understand at what point we're not seeing this as a club, as the managers, as the coaches and all the rest of it are not seeing that there's a player in Christopher Nkunku that theoretically could end up at a rival like Manchester United, and we're not willing to use him. But we're going to use Noni Madueke that can't cross a ball to save his life. We're going to play in Pedro Neto on the left. That doesn't work for us. Play him on the right. You get more off him. How Noni Madueke kept 90 minutes under his belt. Forget the goal that he scored. The goal was on a plate. He couldn't miss it. It would have been harder to miss that goal. But we can't keep doing these same things, churning out the same team, churning out the same Nicholas Jackson, the same Robert Sanchez has to get dropped. Nicholas Jackson has to get dropped. These players they're not Chelsea level. They are not the Chelsea level. They are not the Chelsea level to consistently perform at the top. They're not going to win you a Champions League or a top four or an FA Cup or a Premier League. They're not good enough. The sporting directors, Winstanley Lawrence Stewart, you are not good enough at your job. You're not good enough at the job that you're supposed to be doing at this club. £1.5 billion has been spent. And we still can't beat Fulham. We still can't beat Ipswich. We still can't beat Everton. £1.5 billion has been spent and continuing to be spent. At some point, you've got to pull the plug because the project ain't working. The project ain't working. And I'll be honest, when Maresca came in, I thought, right, I can see a bit of a vision. I can see what we're trying to do. We'd started the season quite well. We were creeping into the top four. quietly. We got to second place before Christmas. I thought, right, I can see things happening. Now, I can't even imagine how we got to that position. I can't even imagine how we got to that top two. How did we even get there playing the football that we're playing? This is poor recruitment. And the buck does not stop there, because the buck goes even higher to the owners. The owners are making the mistakes and hemorrhaging money out of this club. And I guarantee you from now, if we do not make top four, the consequences of that are going to be so severe for this club. They're going to be so severe for this club. I don't think people understand the ramifications that will come with not getting into the top four, with the financially, what that will mean, even for some of the players. There's a World Cup coming up. Do you think some of these players are going to want to sit in the Europa League or the Conference League again? Do you think Moises Caicedo really wants to go and sit and not play in the Conference League and just waste away at Chelsea? Do you really think Cole Palmer is going to sit around and wait for another opportunity to play the Champions League? Do you think Reece James really wants to hang around and see what's happening in the Conference League another season? We'd lose the only bit of quality that we've got. Even Marco Correa, we could lose him, because there's a lot of clubs looking for left backs at the moment. And we've got to be honest, he's been one of the best. He's been one of the best in Europe this season so far. Do you think he's going to want to sit around and play Conference League football, go to Kazakhstan and play Conference League football? This is on the owners. You could take the manager at face value and say, yes, mistakes are being made by the manager playing the same players. Put Jurgensen in goal against West Ham. Start Christopher Nkunku as the 9. But sporting directors, Ben Edwards, who brought Robert Sanchez with him, fuck off out the club. Get out of the club. Because your time is up. Your time is up. Your time is up. Thanks for your services, but you got to go. Because you can't trust these sporting directors. The fact we've got 2 sporting directors and they're still fucking things up. Get one guy, bring one sporting director in. And you can see why Christopher Vivell fucked this off. You can see why he looked at this and thought, you know what? This is going to be a crock of shit. I'm not doing this. This is bullshit. I'm walking away from this before I even before my name is attached to this mess that is happening at Chelsea Football Club. This is why Christopher Vivell left before he even started. He thought, forget what is going on. Forget all this. I'm not doing this. I'm leaving. Petr Cech was the same. Even Thomas Tuchel. I bet Thomas Tuchel was relieved that he got sacked from that job. Because what a mess. 3 years into this mess from Todd Bowley and his little cronies at the top. Nothing to show for it. No good performance. I can't even think of the last good performance we had. Maybe Manchester United at Stamford Bridge. Maybe. And that was a last-ditch attempt by Cole Palmer at the very end of the game, let's be honest. So even that, don't think I could say is we haven't had outstanding performances. This is a team that still has not replaced Didier Drogba, Diego Costa, hasn't replaced Thibaut Courtois, hasn't replaced Petr Cech, hasn't replaced John Terry, hasn't replaced N'Golo Kante. This is a team that has no spine. There is no spine at this club. There is nothing at this club apart from 18 and 19-year-olds vibing together in the dressing room, listen to Spotify playlists. There is nothing about this team anymore that makes it look like the Chelsea DNA is in it. There's nothing. It's just vibes and money being spent frivolously on bullshit and more players that we don't need, whilst we're not addressing the issues that we need to address. This is not just on Maresca. This is a bigger issue than just Maresca. Because if you think about it, one came from Brighton, and one came from Monaco, I think, the sporting directors. Now look at their models. They both were models to recruit players to sell them on for profit. It was never about bringing in quality players. It was never about bringing in players that are going to make you compete for Premier Leagues and Champions League. That's not what the owners are bothered about. The owners are bothered about bums on seats at Stamford Bridge how they can utilize the space around Stamford Bridge and make money, how many kits they can bring out, training tops, increasing ticket prices. That's it. That's it. That's all they want to do. That's all they want to do. They don't care about bringing in a marquee signing. Our marquee signing was nearly Keenan Dewsbury Hall. That was our marquee signing. These owners do not care about the results because either way, they're making money at the club. And I guarantee you, the moment the opportunity arises for them to be able to sell, which I think is in about 7 years where they can make a profit from this club, because that was part of the deal when they took it off Roman's hands, is they can't make any profit out of this club. They can't sell the club on, I think, for 10 years. Now, we're 3 years into this nearly. I guarantee you that one day, the moment they're allowed to sell the club on and profit from this club, they're selling it to someone else. And that's the God's honest truth. They're going to sell the club on because they don't give a shit about the fans. They don't give a shit about the travelling fans that go to Manchester and watch our team get drummed 3-1. They don't care about the travelling fans that went all the way to watch Chelsea versus Astana in Kazakhstan. They're not bothered about those fans. They might give you a little sort of token of gesture when you get there, a bit of metal, a little token of gift or gratitude or whatever, but they don't give a shit about those players, the players or the fans. They don't care because all they care about is money. And these owners are driven by money. They're driven by money. They're driven by money and that's all they care about. Why do you think they chopped the wage bill down? The club was debt-free when they took it on. They didn't even need to do that. But why do you think they've done that? Why do you think these 9-year contracts have come from? Because they're all about the money side of things. How much can they gain from this? How much can they save on this? Not about who's on the pitch. Because no other club would spend 1.5 billion and Nicholas Jackson and Robert Sanchez are your go-tos in a game against Manchester City. No other team's done that. Not even Newcastle are doing that. Bournemouth, Arsenal aren't even doing that. And they've fucked up their transfers, but at least they've got something to show. At least they're challenging for the title. At least they've been trying to challenge for that title. We're not even in that conversation. And we've spent 1.5 billion pounds. Whenever time I say it, I don't think it sinks into some of you Chelsea fans. We are in turmoil right now. We are in absolute turmoil right now. We can all blame Maresca. I keep saying he's at fault for a lot of things, playing the same players, not having a look at things tactically. Maybe you need to change things tactically. Maybe you go from a back 4 to a back 5. Maybe you change things in that front 3 attack and you put Cole Palmer to the right and then Kunku as the 10. You've got to change things. You can't churn out the same team and expect the same result a different result to come back to you. It's going to be the same result. If that lineup was poor against Ipswich, Fulham, Palace and Everton, and then you roll it out against Man City, who's one of the most prolific counter-pressing teams in the league, what do you think is going to happen when you play a high line against them? I'm not even mad at the high line because you've got to go for the game at 2-1. You've got to go for that. But you're 1v1 and you haven't got the trust in your goalkeeper to be sensible in front in the goal. And you haven't really got the centre-backs. Levi Colwell's not really the best, comfortable at times as well. So it is a risk. But there was space for us to run into. The problem was we didn't have the players in attack to do that. Now, had we had Cole Palmer running down against Gravadio, and we maybe had Jadon Sancho running against Mateus Nunes, who isn't essentially a right-back for City, I think we would have got more out of that game with Nkunku as the 10. But Maresca has to wake up and see these things because he's the manager. He's the one that's getting paid the big bucks to do this. He has to change things. Otherwise, it's going to be a long season. These stupid videos that we're having to put out, the reactions from the fans, anger from the fans have had enough now. Paul Winstanley, Lawrence Stewart, your time is up. Get out of the club, please. Anybody watches this, share it with them, please. Please, just get out of the club. Because all you're doing is taking a wage to do nothing and cause more chaos at this club. Because 9 out of 10 of these players are going to get moved on in the next 2 to 3 years. They're not even going to kick a football for us. It's all about profit for these bastards at the top. It's all about the profit. It's all about the money, the ching-cha-ching. That's all it's about for them. They don't care about the club. They don't care about the club. All they want is money in their pockets and they can fuck off in a couple of years. That's all they want to do. But us Chelsea fans that sit here week in, week out, watching the games, going to the games, traveling all the way across the world at times for the game, they don't give a shit about us. They don't give a shit about us. They don't care. They don't care because guess what? There's tourists that will fill Stamford Bridge. There's people that will come from Southeast Asia and fill Stamford Bridge, America and fill Stamford Bridge. There's people in the mega stores all the time. There's people selling out on their website. They don't give a shit about us as fans. And the quicker we wake up to that and realize where we are in this whole project that we're supposed to be in, we'll realize how poor we've been over the last 2 years with this ownership. 36 transfers. One of those is João Felix loan, 9 million, plus a 45 million fee for him. So let's just call that a cool 54 million pounds. 36 transfers and only 3 of these players, Cole Palmer, Marc Correa, Moises Caicedo, are the only 3 that we can talk about with our chest and say that they're actually playing for the badge. Scandalous times. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please leave your thoughts. Please help the channel grow. All of that is appreciated. Really do appreciate it on here. Make sure also you hit the Linktree link below. Social accounts are on there. Podcast episodes. All of them are on that Linktree link. So please make sure you do that for us on this channel. And as I said, let's hope we can hope for better times at Chelsea, but I don't honestly see where they're coming from. So please, if you think I'm overreacting in this video, leave your thoughts below. Let me know what we need to do as a club. What do we need to do? Who can we realistically sign? If not this window, with 7 days to go, the summer window. Because we've got to address a lot of things at this club. So please let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll be back soon with another video.